Hello and welcome to another piece of experimental content, and no, it's not Warhammer. This is the... We hadn't had a name for this, and John just suggested the PleasantKenobi Variety Hour. So sure, fuck it. This is now called the PleasantKenobi Variety... Oh, you said cast, didn't you, or show?
Yeah, I don't know.
Cast, show, hour, I'll decide in post. And then we'll figure out from there.
happen.
Tell us in the comment section below, because this will be going up on YouTube and maybe other places if I can be asked. It's going up on YouTube. So comment down below letting you know what you think the best name for it would be. To give a mission statement then, I guess we should talk, John, about what our plan is here.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes. John, what is our plan here? Who are you, John? That's a good question.
I'm John. I'm the guy who occasionally appears on this channel in other magic-related things.
That's fair to say. You are a person who appears.
The head mod of your Discord, I suppose, is the next most likely thing. Other than that, I stream, I guess, is the best way of putting it.
Yep.
And just kind of hang out. I've known you for quite a while
John,
now.
tell them where you stream, you fucking idiot.
I stream on twitch.tv/JMcElroy and then an underscore.
Yes.
JMcElroy underscore.
Successful self-promotion achieved. I should also probably say who I am, just in case people stumble across this because of the title or something.
What a weird circumstance that would be, though.
No, but it happens. It happens. Like 60% of the people watching... There's a thing. If you're watching this and you aren't subscribed, fucking subscribe. Because apparently 60% of the people that watch my videos aren't subscribed. But anyway, I'm Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet. I make a lot of videos about this stuff. This is Magic the Gathering. I've started to make videos about this stuff, which is Warhammer. And back in the day, I made videos about just gaming in general. So, on that note, John, what is our plan today?
Okay, so this started off as an idea is to do a video games podcast.
Oh no, because there's fucking so many of those out there. There's not enough, John. We need to add to that pile.
Enough. Well, the thing is, I felt like as white men, we need to get our voices heard, and so that the best way of doing that is to make a podcast.
We have to take our privilege and form it into a hard shape. That shape being called a singular one podcast. Multiple white men's privilege. Yes, but it's not going to be just games. We're going to do a bit of pop culture is probably the best way to put it. Right, we're going to talk shit for an hour. It'll be focusing on games, I guess. A bit about other things, whether it be movies, music, whatever the hot meme is of the moment. Future episodes of this might not be a retrospective. This one is retrospective. So today's topic is
2007.
So I'm only 21. So I was... How old does that make me in 2007, John? That's 13 years ago. So that makes me... Maths. 18? No. 8?
There we go. I wasn't gonna tell you. I was gonna let you suffer through that.
God, maths is so difficult. Okay, so 2007. I was only 8. To explain this to people who don't know, I've been 2008. I've been 21 for a very long time, give or take 10 years. So, John, you can start us then. You've got notes. I've been rushing around like a blue arse fly, not preparing for this. So, start us off.
So, I guess we might as well start where we wanted to start off with this, which is in video games. So, a retrospective of video games. And boy, howdy, what a year this was for what the video games industry kind of is now.
Right.
It started a lot of what we know now.
Well, so there were some things that died off. We'll come to this in a moment. There are some trends here that died off too.
Yes,
and there's some trends that evolved very heavily. But would you say it's the best year for video games ever?
It's one of the best, absolutely. And that's kind of why I said it forms basically what the games industry is now. Like so many of the games that came out in that year are still these giant kind of tent poles of the games now, you know?
I mean, well, it was also a year where big AAA gaming and the industry as a whole was willing to try things out. So we had a lot of intellectual properties that were new. So I'm just going to list off some new intellectual properties, and then we can just go on from there, I guess. So like Uncharted first debuted in 2007. The Witcher first debuted in 2007. We had Crysis, Assassin's Creed, Portal, Bioshock. And to a lesser extent, with Call of Duty, they decided to just add the characters that we know now, like Price and everything, and jump to the modern day. Then we had Crackdown. There's a few others as well. Rock Band came out that year, which arguably isn't a new IP because it was basically just them jumping away from Guitar Hero. The Darkness, and of course, the best game of the year, B-Movie The Game.
Yep. There's also the second best game of the year, which was Peggle.
Yeah, I almost said Peggle, because that was a new IP, and Peggle was great, and the second Peggle was pretty good. Yeah, Peggle was great. I fucking love Peggle.
Peggle was great, yeah.
Did you play B-Movie? We can't just leave it there, John. We have to mention it. Did you play B-Movie the game?
I didn't know. And to kind of preempt some of the conversation, I didn't watch the film either. So
I've never seen the movie, apart from some of the... I've watched abridged versions where they speed up every time a certain action happens.
Yeah, the meme versions. I guess, I mean, you can kind of count me watching them in that regard then, where whenever someone says the word B, it speeds up slightly.
Yeah, or they say the word B and it starts the second Shrek movie, and that has to finish, and it goes to B. So that was a meme, but that was in 2007. That meme came about, like, I don't know, about 4 or 5 years ago, right? But I've seen a lot of B-movie stuff because I looked for a lot of clips from it when I made the B videos about magic.
Yeah, of course.
So probably a peek behind the curtain here. I'm not familiar with B-movie. However, an important
You're a
point...
fake fan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very much. I'm a fake
Poser.
B girl.
Yeah.
The good thing to point out here, I guess, which gives some context of who I am in terms of my gaming like chops, as it were, is that I used to like farm gamer score, not in a completionist sense of completing games, but I would play anything and everything to get a shit ton of G, which I don't really do that much anymore because I've got other hobbies that really consume my life. But I played through like Avatar: The Last Airbender. That game, I didn't play through it. I played the first 7 minutes of it on Xbox 360, easy 1000G. So it's very weird, actually, for this period in video gaming that I didn't play the B-movie. Because if I scroll through, I played pretty much everything here that had achievements. I played the Simpsons game. I played Supreme Commander. I played Kane and Lynch. Remember Kane and Lynch, John?
Oh, no.
Did you play Kane and Lynch?
No. I'm only really aware of it because Kane and Lynch 2 was the one which cost Jeff Gerstmann his career his job at GameSpot.
Yes, because Kane and Lynch 2...
he gave it a bad review because it's a bad game, and then obviously that cost him his job, and he went on to form Giant Bomb.
But I mean, arguably, so Kane and Lynch is the hay underneath the fire that is ethics in games journalism, because like Kane and Lynch 2 was the controversial one because they were paying people to do good reviews, right? That's why people were getting fired over it.
Well,
and then
I remember GameSpot also having really heavy advertising on the site. Yeah. Like there was clearly a lot of money going into GameSpot, so having I think it wasn't even that bad a review. I think it's like a 6 out of 10.
Oh,
but they were like,
in the games industry, John, that's a death sentence.
Get out, shit canned, get out of here.
But is GameSpot even a thing anymore? Does that exist?
Yeah, I guess kind of as a crumbling vestige of its previous.
Yeah, because there's a period of my life where I would check IGN like daily and shit. I don't even know if IGN still exists. I don't even know.
IGN's still about, yeah.
Ah, well, there you go. So yeah, that year was insane. And then some of those IPs I mentioned then went on to be basically the biggest IPs in history, like Assassin's Creed, The Witcher, like Bioshock arguably may not have the same sales numbers as the others, but it's definitely got the prestige, right?
Yeah. I mean, so Bioshock, Uncharted, Assassin's Creed, Mass Effect, The Witcher, Call of Duty, all of these games are still happening, And then I wanted to say that the super duper value game of 2007, super duper value prize goes to the Orange Box.
Right, okay.
Because in terms of quality, when Valve was at its absolute peak in terms of its game making peak, I guess is the best way of putting it.
I mean, supposedly Alex is a return to form, apparently. But again, no one can play it because no one's got VR.
Exactly. And they've kind of been dormant since... I mean, Artifact, you can kind of scrub over quite quickly.
But I mean, since episode 2, since the Orange Box, they haven't made a solo game, right? That was up until Alex, right? Since then, it was Artifact, CSGO, and all that stuff.
Dota 2, technically.
That's not a single-player game. Is it all multiplayer experiences? They haven't done a narrative experience since episode 2, since 2007.
So so Orange Box, for those who aren't aware, included Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2 Episode 1, which were previously released anyway, Half-Life 2 Episode 2, Portal, and Team Fortress 2.
Yeah, so Team Fortress 2, Portal, and Episode 2 were all new that year. I think the Portal and Episode 2 being completely new on the release of Orange Box, I think. I'd have to double check. I think Team Fortress 2 came out before, though, but again, I could be wrong.
I'm not sure. But Team Fortress... So, here's the thing. So, I played a lot of Team Fortress 2 on PC. So years after its release, heavily supported up until recent times. Like it's kind of petered out a little bit in terms of support from Valve because I guess it's not making as much money selling crates for hats anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want a kind of weird time capsule of 2007's Team Fortress 2, just go ahead and get the game on a PS3 or Xbox 360.
The problem is you need to get friends to play with you. So around this time, I had not worked at Game Station yet, so it's just before Game Station. Or did I start working at Game Station during this period? Because I feel like Orange Box came out when I was at Game Station. I used to work at Game Station, a game shop in England.
Yeah, when you were 8. You were 8 years old.
Yeah, I was 8 years old and they hired me because I was just that good and that handsome. But I know
because you could reach the low shelves without having to...
That was it. I could crawl under them and fight off the rats. We did once do a changeover of the store because Game Stations were disgusting. And we did a changeover of all the stock and stuff. We found a half-eaten sausage roll from Greg's under one of the shelves. And it must have been there for like 6 months, a year. It's crazy. But I remember I bought Assassin's Creed and Super Mario Galaxy whilst I wasn't working there, but I remember Orange Box comes out when I was. Anyway, my point I was getting out was I was recommending Orange Box to everyone because I am a fanatical Half-Life 2 fan, except for the fact that I won't buy VR just for Alex. But Team Fortress 2, like none of my friends would play it because it's the same year that Halo 3 and COD 4 came out, so console gamers were not keen to play Team Fortress. And also Team Fortress didn't get any support on console, so literally within a month or so it was out of date and didn't play out the PC version.
That's the reason why I said it's a time capsule, because if you compare what the PC release is like with everything added, the console releases are barren. They are literally stock as it was released.
Yep.
Maybe some patch fixes to address issues with the
like
games
netcode or something. Sure,
or like frame rate issues.
So 2007 was the period when like games didn't have those sort of changes. Like games weren't updated on console at least like they are now. So 2007 is kind of like the end of an era in many ways because we didn't have heavy microtransactions and games weren't updated out of the box. Everything that launched that year, looking through, barring perhaps whatever the Far Cry release was that year, because they're notorious for that stuff.
Well, the Far Cry one was Crysis, wasn't it?
Well, no. Well, I guess so. Like, it's not Ubisoft owned. Like, that was the same team. That was the original team that made Far Cry, made Crysis, which was also phenomenal. But I didn't play it for 2 years because my PC couldn't handle it. But my point was everything that came out of the gate that year, as far as I understand, I'm looking through, was playable out of the gate, which is again is a thing that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
So
I wanted to mention also. In terms of games that I played that we haven't mentioned, was God of War 2.
Right.
Was released on the PlayStation 2 in 2007.
Because it was one of the last... Well, no, that's not true. There's been
a
million PS2 games since... No, because FIFA has been releasing on PS2 up until like the last version. Like, PS2 releases, for some reason, carried on until like last year. It's crazy.
I guess the saying like a non kind of sports title that gets released on everything.
Or a first
It was one of the last kind of big games released on the PlayStation 2. It's one of the highest selling PlayStation 2 games, behind obviously the first one, but it is still,
that is funny that God of War 2 came out the same year as Uncharted.
Yeah, even in the end of its life, God of War 2, still managed to sell, because that's the one I played it on the PlayStation 2 that year, because I think like a year or two later they released the remastered version on the PS3 for God of War 1 and God of War 2, and then God of War 3 came out on the PS3.
Should we go through a few of the big titles and then talk about what we thought of them? Is that a good place to go? Okay. Let's start with
whether we've played them to start off with, because there's a few that I haven't played.
Let's go... I feel like I've played way too many video games in this period of my life. Let's go from the lesser end. I'm going to go through Google's highlight of 2007, right?
Okay.
I'll go from the lesser end. Some of these we just brush over. Okay. This will also show you all at home how much I farmed Gamerscore, because I think I played almost everything that's on console here. Okay. So the first one it's giving me is Blades of Storm, the 100-Year War, I think it is. Yeah, me neither.
No,
I remember the case.
Idea.
I remember this case being on game store shelves. It's I think it's a Dynasty Warriors-esque thing for if you're watching this as one of your favourite games, I'm really fucking sorry. Next up, Harry Potter. Okay, here's a bit of trivia, John. Which Harry Potter game and film came out that year?
Order of the Phoenix?
Correct! Did you play it?
No,
no, me neither. I'm not sure if there was a 360. Maybe I did. I can't remember. They all blew into one.
I stopped caring about Harry Potter after Prisoner of Azkaban.
That's really weird because I didn't give a shit about Harry Potter until Deathly Hallows. I retroactively went back and watched it. Oh yeah, these are perfectly reasonable kids movies.
No, but I mean the books. I read the book.
Oh,
and then I think I watched the first film and never really cared. I watched the film. I watched the film for Prisoner of Azkaban, because it was the one that was directed by Alfonso Cuarón.
Right.
which is obviously a good director. So I thought, well, why not?
Did you think that at the time, though? How old were you, like 6?
No, I watched it like a couple years ago.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah.
Okay. What's your favourite Harry Potter movie?
That one. It's also my favourite
Prisoner
book.
of Azkaban?
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good.
It's the one that everyone always says is their favourite because it's got werewolves, a bit darker, and it's got this like CGI fanciful castles and shit. I don't know, it just feels... It's the edgy one, right? It's the edgy one.
I think they get edgier as they go, really.
No. That's the one with literal... Doesn't it have a vampire in it as well? It's like vampires and werewolves and shit. It's definitely of its time.
Honestly, I still can't remember what really goes on about it. I know that they have a time travel thing.
Oh, is that... No, wait, is Azkaban? I thought Order of the Phoenix was the one with the time turner.
No, that's Azkaban because they go save the hippogriff.
Right. In which case, it's even worse now, because that is my least favourite of all the plot. Like, time travel is a difficult thing to pull off, and that's so bollocks.
Absolutely.
That's also the one then where Dumbledore will look at Harry and then storm out of the room very quickly and never explain to him at the very end why. So it's just like, oh, great,
Dumbledore... Because he knew that he was travelling in time. It's like, yeah, okay, fine.
No, Dumbledore was being a bastard. He was being a bastard for no reason. Fuck, I hate Dumbledore. So I think Order of the Phoenix is my favourite one, but I can't even remember. It's got the woman in it, hasn't it? It's got the angry, like, very
It's got the woman in it.
The conservative pink blouse, like, oh, I'm going to tell you you're naughty and magically spank your bottoms.
No, I honestly...
The evil teacher. Dolores. Dolores Umbridge? Umbridge, that's it. Dolores Umbridge. See, John, I don't know, but she's just saying name, you're like, oh, I know it. Fuck off, John.
I've got friends who care about it. I've got friends who care about Harry Potter, and I just learned these things.
Look, I don't hate Harry Potter. My best friend's a Harry Potter fan. Anyway, moving on.
Wow, okay.
Did you ever play Avencast, Revenge of the Mage?
No.
No, me neither.
What is that?
I don't know. What is it? Some shitty online RPG? An action role-playing game on PC.
Wonderful.
I feel like I'm quite well versed at this period of time in gaming. I have no idea what this is. Okay, this one's more of a real one. Lego Star Wars.
No.
What, you didn't play Lego Star Wars?
I haven't played any of them.
Wow. Okay, this is the second
one.
No
Lego games.
Saga. You've never played a Lego game in your life?
I mean, I may have got one on like a Humble Bundle and tried it and I went, nah, this isn't for me.
Okay, wow.
Gave up.
Wow, didn't know they hated fun. The first ones were pretty good. They were fun. They were a bit like they encourage you to collect everything, and I found that very annoying. But we'll move on then if you haven't played it. I liked it. I like the first two at least. Good. World of Warcraft Burning Crusade, John. No, me neither. I can't fucking stand it.
Never played WoW, not really an MMO person, so...
Okay, so for people, again, we're just letting the audience know like where we're at, right? I love Warcraft. I love Warcraft 3. Cannot fucking stand World of Warcraft. Can't stand MMOs in general. So if you're watching this thinking, oh, can't wait for them to talk about Burning Crusade, we don't give a shit. Next up, Alvin and the Chipmunks, John.
No,
I think I might have played it on 360.
Desperate for the gamer score.
Yep. Final Fantasy Tactics on the PSP.
No.
Did you ever...
I did have a PSP.
Me too.
I did have a PSP,
me too.
Yep.
Were we hipsters having PSPs, or were we just idiots?
Yes.
Mine was off the back of a truck, and it was 3 months before release. So my dad is a dodgy man, always has been, always will be. And one of his friends just like sold...
You just introduce your dad. Hi, this is my dad. He's a dodgy man.
Oh, he's always been a dodgy fucker. But like one of his mates was like, oh, do you want to buy this? And he bought it. And he said, oh, we've got this new games console. I'm like, Dad, this isn't new. This isn't out yet. So I had a PSP with Burnout, I think was the lautch title. And that was it. Burnout was pretty good on that, and Battlefront 2. Anyway, next up...
There was a PSP game, I think it was released either before or after 2007, which was one
it was definitely released before or after 2007, right? Or perhaps in?
Maybe.
There's only three options, John.
Yeah, well, who knows? It's one where you're like a pursuit driver guy, and you like jump from car to car, and like you chase after bad people.
That rings a bell.
Yeah, it was a weird one where you're like a pursuit game where you have to jump from
was
like
it called,
cars.
John? Come on.
Pursuit Force? That sounds familiar. I'm not sure.
Bingo! Yeah, I played that. Because the way he's jumping makes him look like he is from.
Yeah. I need to refresh my memory as to what this looks like as well now.
There was also a sequel called Extreme Justice.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's it. Pursuit Force. Yeah, definitely.
I'll bring it onto screen now so people at home can actually see this.
Wow, 2005.
There we go. Pursuit Force. Look at that pose. People at home. Look, also, for some reason, there's a lot of side boob. The person he's jumping towards in the box art is a woman, and she has not done up her motorcycle gear, which is not safe.
It's gonna be full of grit and gravel, right?
Yeah, she's gonna have gravelly tits, John.
The worst kind.
Wow, there's worse ones, like dismembered. Anyway, let's not go down that route. Right, back to 2007. Hang on. What year did Pursuit Force come out? 2005. Fucking hell.
So it was before, yeah.
Oh, wow. Because maybe I didn't have the PSP before release. I feel like I did. Hang on, when did Burnout come out? Burnout PSP.
It was like Burnout Legends or something, right, on PSP?
Did it come out in 2005? If it didn't, I'm lying. Yeah, it did. It did. And when did the PSP come out? 2005. Yeah, so yeah, this fits up. There's all lines up.
The DS was 2004, wasn't it?
Pass. Sounds about right. Okay. Sounds about right. Like I think
I had a DS. I had DS first.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I had a DS with loads of games, but PSP I had like 2 games, which I feel like I had Pursuit Force now, but I can't be fucking certain. But I definitely remember it. Okay. Next up, Simpsons the video game, John.
No.
I completed it. To get the achievements.
Yep.
It was shit.
I mean, in terms of like the Simpsons games, because they have a very interesting, in terms of like PS2, PS3 era Simpsons games, there are 4 that I can think of.
There's only one good one, John.
Yes, I know, but we'll lead up to that one. You have the worst, the best. The worst is Simpsons skateboarding.
Right.
I owned that. Awful. Don't play it.
I didn't play it.
Not even for a laugh. It's so bad.
It didn't have achievements, so I didn't play it.
It rides so much on the Tony Hawk's heels.
But we could probably do a whole fucking episode of this thing. Maybe that'd be fun actually, where we look at all the Tony Hawk's knockoffs. That would be actually pretty fun, I think, because there's so many of them. So I didn't even realize the Simpsons did one of those.
Talking of another rip-off was Simpsons Road Rage, which is a rip-off of Crazy Taxi.
Yeah, that was good. Wait, hang on. You're talking about Road Rage, not Hit and Run.
Road Rage, and then you have the Simpsons game, which was good.
The Simpsons game was way later, John. It came out on PS2.
I know, but I'm going in terms of worst to best.
Okay.
Worst to best. We are spanning some time, but worst to best. And then obviously the best one is the Simpsons Hit and Run.
Yes, which is the GTA.
The GTA clone.
You're missing the Simpsons wrestling. What did that? Oh, I'm fucking angry, John, with that statement. Like, the N64, like. But the games in the
it was abysmal.
It's so long since I played it that I remember it looking visually quite good.
It's disgusting.
But maybe it did.
Disgusting.
But I look at screenshots here; it looks good for a PlayStation game. I mean, here's the first one on Wikipedia for those at home. As far as PS1 games go, because the PS1 is hands down the worst games console in terms of graphics. Oh, it is awful.
No. In terms of graphical quality, that game is disgusting.
Oh, I thought you disagree about the PlayStation 1. Like, most games on the PS1 look like shit, John. They all look like shit. It's just like moving turds. And like you remember things being visually...
I'd say that if between the PlayStation 1 and the N64, because they were rivals, the N64 looks worse.
No, John! Fuck off! The games in the N64 look way better than the vast majority of stuff on PS1, because PS1 has this thing. I don't know why somebody who's into computer programming or visual design or some shit can tell me why, but PS1 games shift and move for no fucking reason. Like, polygons just wobble. It's like, you know the old joke that, like, Crossroads, the British soap, was, like, built on wobbly sets? Mm-hmm. Every PS1 game is like that. At least N64 games, it doesn't give you motion sickness because things are moving.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there, because the PlayStation 1 still had... like sprite games, so you had stuff like Symphony of the Night. If you like Symphony of the Night, compared to any, give me any N64 game and it looks better.
N64 sprite games, Yoshi Story.
That's not a sprite game.
Yeah, it's
a 2.5D game.
No,
if I recall correctly.
I
owned it. I played it a lot.
There are elements of like 2.5D in like the world map and a few of the levels.
It's not a sprite game.
But all of the characters are sprites. Let me have a look.
Yoshi Story. We're having a fight.
I've played a lot of fucking Yoshi Story in my time, John. Right on multiple platforms. I had it on the Wii as like a virtual console version. I love Yoshi Story. It's sprites. It's 100% sprites.
Is that sprites?
Yes,
like
John.
The sun is obviously sprites.
John, it's similar sprites in a sense to how Donkey Kong Country was done. It's similar technology where it's like 3D rendered models. Well, Donkey Kong Country was like claymation, I guess, then 3D model, then or whatever. But it's like that. They're 3D models that have then been like flattened down into sprites via some sort of rendering technique.
Yeah, but even if you can like, Yoshi's Story is still ugly compared to Symphony of the Night.
Right. Let's have a look at some Symphony of the Night. Fucking Symphony of the Night.
Symphony of the Night's gorgeous.
How many re-releases it had? I'm gonna get screenshots not from the original.
Oh, lots. Like it got
Sean,
re-released.
it looks like it looks like a fancy SNES game. I'm not saying it doesn't look good. Look.
Also, the SNES had some cracking games on it, and they all look good. I mean, most.
Oh,
of them
sure, but I'm just saying, like, this doesn't. Is this image here, John? I'm gonna stick it in the Discord so you can check.
Okay.
Because I can't tell if this is the original game. How the fuck am I gonna do this?
Just send it to me direct, I guess.
I put it in the voice chat text so people can be very confused in my Discord right now.
Okay.
Is that Symphony of the Night?
Yes.
Okay. That looks like a nice advanced SNES game.
Yeah?
Well, Yoshi's Story... Does it look like an advanced SNES game?
It's better than a SNES game.
No.
It's got a higher resolution than a SNES game.
So is
based
Yoshi's Story!
That's based on the beginning of Dracula X Chronicles, and then it goes into Symphony of the Night, Vince.
I feel like you're just saying random facts that aren't related to the conversation we're having now, John. You're like, well, okay, well, John, Yoshi's actually one of Mario's sidekicks. And like, so? What's fucking relevant there? I'm sorry. Okay, there you go. People in the comment section can decide which game...
Oh, what, this is a schism already.
We're not saying which game is better, although I probably believe it's Yoshi's Story, because that game is an all-time classic. Which game looks better visually? Or looks better now, even aged well?
I do have the t-shirt. I've got the Castlevania Metroid Man t-shirt.
Sure, and I haven't got my Yoshi egg tattooed on me yet, but I need to get it. Yoshi fucking Story.
We have drawn sides before we even started the podcast, apparently.
Like, it just looks better. It's visually... It's got better music. That's a bit harsh as well, maybe not. Yoshi's Story soundtrack slaps, but slaps in a very, like, I don't know, like taking drugs to make yourself feel better way. Anyway.
Yeah. Where were we?
Where were we? 2007 was not the year of Yoshi's Story. Okay, next up on the list that Google gives me, Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. This is more your thing than mine, right?
Let's skip over that one, right?
Do you not like it?
It's fine.
It was on the Wii, so for everyone who's watching, he's like, oh, I thought the Prime games were good. The first two were on the GameCube.
Yeah, they take some very strange leaps, if I recall correctly. It's like there's hopping between planets to do stuff, and...
that sounds cool.
The whole Wii motion controls for it, I feel, is a bit shoehorned and a bit weird.
Yeah, I mean, all the shooting games on the Wii kind of suffered. Like,
yeah.
Did you play Red Steel? I mean, that was the year before this, I think. But
for about 10 minutes, I went, this game's awful.
I can't remember if I finished it or not. I was trying to force myself through. Red Steel was the first thing that my wife bought. My now wife bought me when we first started.
You have like an Uzi in one hand and a katana in the other, and you've just kind of got to make sense of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty fucking bad. Supreme Commander, did you play that?
Nope.
Which was like a reinvigoration of an old series. Yeah, Supreme Commander was pretty good. I played a little bit of it on PC because it was on the now defunct Games for Window platform.
I was going to mention that. That's one of the things that I've got listed, because I've got 3 things that are non-games but game related.
Right, go on.
So the 3 is
that's a good segue, kinda.
Yeah,
we'll come back to this.
Elite Xbox 360 was released in 2007.
That's game related.
I mean it's game related, but it's not a video game itself.
Sure.
So that was released, which was a big shift in terms of Xbox 360.
Oh, it was a big shift in terms of not having your Xbox explode on you. Like,
yes.
Up until the Elite, I think I was at it was around 14 Xbox. I mean, I played a lot of video games, so I was wearing that machine out and probably a dusty, dirty, 8-year-old bedroom, as we said.
Absolutely.
But my consoles, they've red ringed, they broke, I upgraded twice, so I think I was on 14 Xboxes before the Elite came out. So yeah, it was a big jump because then people didn't have to worry about all the fucking dying Xboxes.
Yeah. The next one is Games for Windows Live launching.
Yep.
It died 7 years later.
Did you ever use it?
Maybe because you're forced to. Some of the games
some of the games you couldn't play it on. So, I played Dawn of War 2 for it. I think I've installed Supreme Commander. I think it ended up having achievements, so I never really played much of it. Dawn of War 2 had achievements. Bioshock 2 had achievements on PC and Xbox that were different, so I started replaying Bioshock 2 on PC to get the achievements. And there's a few
that
others
Bioshock 2... Didn't Bioshock 2 have some really annoying multiplayer only achievements, right?
Yes, it did. It had like 3, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But I didn't think the multiplayer was actually that bad. It wasn't great. But
I think it was fine, but shoehorned.
And then Kane and Lynch was another. Kane and Lynch and World in Conflict, I think, which are coming up on our list. They were also games for Windows. Mm-hmm. Oh, and GTA 4. GTA 4 was another big one to try and push it on PC. Because everyone wants to play GTA on PC, right? But games for Windows... GTA 4 was badly optimised as it was, and then games for Windows just like a whole layer of crap on top.
Yep.
It was like what Steam was originally, where everyone was like annoyed at it as DRM, because that's basically what it was.
And the final and most important thing that happened in 2007 in terms of games, but not video game related... was that Nokia killed the N-Gage.
Wow. Have you ever played one?
I played one in a phone shop when I was bored waiting for like my dad. I think someone was buying a phone or getting a contract or something, and I was just like, when they first released it was like 2004, maybe a bit earlier. So I was like, early teens, just kind of like bored in a phone shop, and they had like Tomb Raider on one. I was like, I'll play this.
Which Tomb Raider was it?
I don't know. The N-Gage Tomb Raider.
I wonder if it's the straight port or like N-Gage.
I mean, it wasn't good, and it was awful to play, and it looked bad.
Oh wow! It's actually just the original Tomb Raider from the looks of things.
Oh really?
Wow!
But on a teeny tiny screen.
Yeah, and like 10 years later. I guess maybe John, we should be nice to the N-Gage because it kick-started the revolution of re-releasing old games by re-releasing Tomb Raider 10 years later on a fucking Nokia. Okay, you can buy Tomb Raider for the N-Gage on Amazon right now for £13 and 10 pence, John.
That's way too much.
You can also get a Nokia N-Gage QD game deck, as they call it, which I think might be an unofficial one, for £169.
Oh, for anyone who's just really, really in the mood to play some N-Gage games.
I wonder if there's an active N-Gage community somewhere.
Speedrunners, right?
Imagine! Oh fuck! You should stream some, John. You should get an N-Gage.
No way.
Stream N-Gage games.
No, how on earth would you hook that up to a modern
I don't know. Have a
platform?
Camera so they can see your thumbs on the fucking little number pad as well. But it had Virtua Tennis, Sonic N, not Sonic N. Oh, they do that thing where the N64 had all these 64 titles. The Super NES had the Super titles, and the N-Gage had the N titles. Oh no, Splinter Cell was called Team Stealth Action, which doesn't sound like a Splinter Cell title. That sounds like someone has got the Splinter Cell license and just making something up.
Yeah. Can I just say that on the topic of talking about games that are named after the console on which they are released, the worst one that I can think of is the new Super Mario Brothers Wii. or new Super Mario Brothers Wii U. Yeah, the Wii U one really takes the biscuit. I'm really hoping they'll do another one now, which is just called New Super Mario Bros. Wii U, but on the Switch. They just commit to it. They never stop. The Switch edition. I'll pause there. I'm just going to shut my door because they're live. Mm-hmm. There we go. All right. Mm-hmm. Back to 2007. So you didn't play Kane and Lynch at all? No. I actually remember liking one of the Kane and Lynches, but they both blur into one. They're both really weird, edgy things that were trying to deal with post-traumatic stress and mental disorders and stuff, and they're probably very clumsy, but a younger me was like, oh, this is interesting at least. But so one thing I'd like to say to kind of clarify my answers on a lot of these games is that I wasn't really playing that many. I didn't own an Xbox 360 ever. I still haven't owned one, and I owned a PS3 I think in 2008, maybe a bit later. So my answers on this will be I have played some of them. I promise I've played some of them. We're getting there. We're getting to them. Later, yes. Okay, so the of the main ones that we've discussed already. Well, we're going through all the small fry. We haven't got to the big fry yet. Yeah. We're like fucking 30 minutes into the podcast, and Halo 3's only mentioned once. Ace Combat 6: Fires of Liberation. I did play that, and it was fucking banging. Because it had a full on cinematic storyline. They all do. All the Ace Combat games do, with like all these CGI clips and really melodramatic. Oh my god, will my father come home from war? Like a single tear, but in a bit of an anime way. It was. Sorry, what accent was that? I don't know. I was trying to. You, John. It was you. Forza 2 Motorsport. Forza Motorsport 2. So I played I played the original Forza
on Xbox?
an original Xbox because I bought one cheap from Argos. It was like £40 for an Xbox, Halo 1, Halo 2, Forza, and Fable.
Did you mod it?
No.
Because you seem like the kind of guy who would mod the shit out of an Xbox and then never play the games he's modded it for. Because you can install like Dreamcast emulators and shit.
My friends got a mod on Xbox.
They're cool. They're really cool.
Yeah, they're very good. Yeah.
But Forza Motorsport 2 was sick. Like, I'm not even a big fan of the main Forza line anymore. I love the Horizon games, but Forza Motorsport 2 was just really cool for like the level of custom. It's basically Gran Turismo for the Xbox with a bit more customization in terms of visuals because you could.
It's a bit less pompous. Gran Turismo has always come across as like very kind of up its own arse.
Gran Turismo serves two purposes. One, it's for like carophiles, people who absolutely want to have sex with cars. Like, don't even at me. There are people who fuck cars.
they
fuck
exhaust.
Like Gran Turismo is just it's car porn, but in a very literal way. It's people get like coming. People are coming to those cars. I'm going to say come one more time and move on. Come. And the second one is just a tech demo. That's all it is.
Yeah.
But Forza
don't forget. I just want to say, don't forget they released like Gran Turismo 5 Prologue before they released, like later on down the line when they got to Gran Turismo 5, they released Prologue. They didn't even release the game. They released a Prologue for full price.
GT Prologue came out full price, and it came out, was it 6 years before GT5? Is that right?
It was maybe not 6, but
it was close. It was close to that, I think. Because Prologue, let's look it up. Prologue was a launch title, wasn't it? GT5
for the PS4, right?
Prologue. No, there's a Prologue for the PS3.
For the PS3?
PS3 Prologue came out on 2007 December. And then GT5 came out at the end of the PlayStation 3's life cycle, I remember.
Right, okay. Are we on GT6 now then? Are we
2010, John. So there was 3...
Wow.
Oh, wow, okay. 3 years. I felt like a lot longer, but that's because when you're really in the weeds of like loving video games, I guess things feel like longer periods of time, I guess. Mm-hmm. But so GT4 was on the PS2. Because I remember like one of these looked really nice for its time. They all looked really nice for their time. But...
I remember Gran Turismo 3 being a launch title for the PS2, right? Or close to launch with PS2.
They always launched a PlayStation with it. So Prologue was... I remember people being annoyed that Prologue was released instead of an actual full game. Mm-hmm. Why the fuck would you even... I don't know. But yeah, I've never been... But Forza has an actual soundtrack with music on it and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then also, the most notable thing about Forza is that people could customise decals to put on the cars. Mm-hmm. So you have just like anime, porn, and hentai all over the fucking store and they're trying to fix it. So that was fun.
I was going to say, on the original Xbox version of Forza, you could load your own music into the soundtrack, so you'd burn CDs onto your Xbox, and then you could play that through Forza.
Because that was thing.
That was rad. That was so good.
That was a thing for several Xbox games, wasn't it? It was like one of the weird tangent side points where like we've got a hard drive, you can put your own music.
I think it's one of the cool things that like games like I think GTA, Vice City, maybe some other ones allow you to put in your own soundtrack if you jump through all the hoops to do so.
Well, the PC version 100% just had that built in. There's a empty radio station that you can cycle through to on Vice City, and I assume, I can't remember on San Andreas, but definitely on Vice City.
Yeah.
And you just put MP3 files into a folder on the computer, and when you go to that radio station, it just plays them. So the PC version definitely had that. I wouldn't be surprised if the Xbox version had. If someone, again, lots of stuff for the comment section to do. If someone had GTA, Vice City, or was Vice City released on the Xbox? I don't think it was.
So I think what happened is that in late in the life cycle of the Xbox, they released 3 and Vice City and maybe San Andreas. I can't remember. And they were market upgrades above the PS2 versions. Like graphically, they were better than the PS2 games.
Yeah. I'm looking for the case now. I remember the Xbox Collection. It was called. Mm-hmm. It had all 3.
Was it all 3? Or was it 2?
It was all. No, there was no City. San Andreas. There's no San Andreas.
Okay, I think it must have. Well, San Andreas came out in 2004, so I guess too late in the life cycle.
I mean, San Andreas had a re-release on 360 that I didn't know about that you can get on Amazon. So that's crazy.
Okay.
Because San Andreas was interesting. Because I remember reading all the stuff leading up to it and getting excited for it. That it's going to have bullet decals on cars and ragdoll physics, which are things that games at the time all had. And then at launch, you had none of those things because the PS2 was dragging it down. Like we've always had this. Consoles always drag video games down in terms of their progression, right?
I've got a personal experience with San Andreas that is kind of sad in that I got it for Christmas, I think, 2004. I think it came out, so whatever that Christmas was. I played through it to a point, and whilst playing it, I accidentally knocked my PlayStation over.
Oh,
because I had it vertically. Do you know what happens when you knock over your PlayStation? It scratches the disc to a point at which it's unreadable. And I never rebought the game because I was young.
So distraught. I was
13. I was 13. I couldn't afford a new, 50 quid, 60 quid game.
I love the way our 2007 episode, we spent probably more time talking about the PS2 era of games than we have this.
Well,
but here's another side tangent with regards to what you just said. The GameCube, right? There was a time, once upon a time, where my friend Tom, if he ends up watching this, maybe he will, maybe he won't, who knows. We were playing Melee in his nan's house, and the GameCube was on top of the television, and one of us yanked the controller. I can't remember which one of us it was. Like this, as we were trying to get a hammer or whatever, or make the jump or whatever, and it pulled it off, and it hit the ground, and the disc tray opened, and this was still spinning, and we finished the match. Then put it up, and after we then turned the console off, closed it, put it back up. Disc didn't scratch, console was fine, game kept going. My point is, Nintendo consoles, maybe not so much anymore, but they used to be so much more durable, and they never had any of these disc scratching.
I think that's because of how the disc was stored, was held in the console, because it was you latch it in, and there's a button in the middle to release it, as opposed to the PlayStation that uses a disc tray, where it just kind of gets grabbed and then spun on a spindle or whatever it is, the read head. And therefore that's a lot looser, and then if you drop it or knock it...
But it's the same for old Nintendo consoles, right? They're indestructible. Like SNES's and N64s and stuff. Like SNES batteries, the batteries in the carts are meant to be dying, aren't they? They're meant to be reaching the end of their life, but they aren't.
Game Boy ones are supposed to be dying as well, and I'm like...
How many Game Boy games have batteries in them, though? It's only a small portion, right?
I think quite a lot, because batteries were a thing in consoles since the original Legend of Zelda. Legend of Zelda, I think, was the main one. Yeah, was the save point. So there were some if they want to cheap out and not include a battery in the cart, but so I think Pokemon's the main one.
Yeah, right? Pokemon's the obvious one. The only truly good game.
Link's Awakening also saves.
Okay. Because the majority of Game Boy games, I have this feeling that I think people look back on the Game Boy very, very positively. When you go back and actually look at the game library, a lot of them haven't aged well or were even that good in the first place. I generally think, and also the Game Boy lasted for so long, there's such a massive library, that if you look at them, you're probably looking at hazing 1 or 2% of the games are actually any good.
I do feel like maybe it's because of where I was growing up and what I was playing and what I was experiencing, is that the Game Boy Advance library was so much more impressive than the Game Boy library.
Well, it's jump from NES
to SNES, maybe it's because obviously you have that kind of the jumping off point. You know what you're doing in the Game Boy era, and so you can then use more advanced technologies and obviously make better games from it. I think
the Game Boy was only marginally better than the NES in terms of power level and stuff. Even if it was that. Yeah, I think obviously.
I mean, don't forget the original Game Boy was released in 1989.
Sure, but that was 4 or 5 years after the NES.
Yeah.
So it definitely had some elements that felt more advanced in terms of the game design. NES games tend to be.
Here's a question. Here's a fun question for you. If my knowledge doesn't betray me entirely, what year, in relation to when the Game Boy was released, what year was the Game Boy Color released?
The Game Boy Color, 98.
Yes.
Yeah, it's almost a decade.
It's so late. And
then the Game Boy Advance came out 2002.
2001.
2001. So it's over a decade for the Game Boy Advance and shy of a decade for the Color. Because the Game Boy was until the PS2 was the longest lasting console in terms of lifetime, right? And the PS2 edged it out and then thrashed it because EA kept releasing features.
To be fair, the PS2's lifetime was only extended because people like EA were publishing Madden and FIFA endlessly. Which,
to be fair, we're saying it in a quite snide way, but it might actually be that that's a very positive thing because it might be for the accessibility of certain countries in this world as well. Where
if you couldn't get, because let's not brush over the fact that when the PS3 was released, it was $600 for the cheap version.
Because I didn't get one on release either. I always get every console basically if I can work for the money and get it. But the PS3, I just would not buy it for that price. So it was absurd. So I got it when I think late 2007 when UT3 came out. Unreal Tournament 3 came out. So I played Uncharted a year or so late, I think, which is on this list. World in Conflict. Did you play World in Conflict?
Nope.
Fucking bagging RTS. That game is great. Right. Siphon Filter. We're almost there. Logan's Run. No. Tomb Raider Anniversary.
No.
No, didn't play that either. Contra 4.
No.
Company of Heroes. The expansion. That game was fucking banging. Civ, another expansion. Super Paper Mario.
No. Although so I was aware of it coming out, but I didn't play a lot of games on the Wii, to be honest.
Sure.
Like I played Super Mario Galaxy, I played Metroid Prime 3, I played a few other games that released on the Wii, but Super Paper Mario, because it wasn't another RPG, because Paper Mario Thousand Year Door is an amazing game.
Yeah,
like,
well, Super
utterly
Paper Mario,
fantastic.
it had RPG elements in the sense that you had stats that you upgraded through like progress and stuff.
But it was much more.
But it was very much a platformer. Yeah, it was. It was somewhere between the traditional Mario RPG and a platformer. Its big gimmick was the 2.5D in the literal sense.
You could flip the screen so you could see
either way. Yeah, I played.
But I didn't have any interest in playing it.
I never finished it.
Yeah.
Unreal Tournament 3.
No,
like,
I don't want. No, I played Unreal Tournament 2003.
Well, you're not missing much. It was definitely. There's a reason there's not been an Unreal Tournament 4, shall we say? Because 3 was pretty shit. The main character literally is just a character from Gears of War. Look at their faces. Same fucking.
It's the same like Marcus Phoenix.
Yeah, it's just Marcus Phoenix all over again. Because there's that period in video games where Gears of War was popular, so everyone was Marcus Phoenix.
Everyone was just a big brick wall.
Yeah, a big fucking steroid testicle. Did you play Clive Barker's Jericho?
No, the only thing I remember of Clive Barker's Jericho was the 0 punctuation review of it,
and the amazing trailers. Like all the trailers were fucking like.
I never even watched the trailers.
Like I remember the trailers being like, people were like, "Oh my god, this is going to be like the de facto horror game of the decade," and then it was like. It was so bad, I didn't even get any achievements on it, I think. I didn't even play it for achievements.
Didn't even bother.
Ben 10, Protector of Earth. No, I didn't play that. Zelda Phantom Hourglass.
No.
No, me neither.
Okay, so I saw... Again, this is another thing where I saw how the game played, and I had no interest in it.
Well, it was like sort of like an update to Wind Waker, I believe.
So it was a sequel to Wind Waker, but you didn't use the D-pad to move. You had to use the stylus to move.
Right, it's one of the stylus games. This is where Nintendo fell down a bit for me.
That and Spirit Tracks, you both have to use the stylus to move.
It's the same with the Wii, the same with the Wii U, the stylus stuff, all that shit. Sometimes you get to the point where like, you just don't want the gimmick anymore. Like, I love Twilight Princess with a passion, and I loved it on the Wii. But fuck me, I was bored with the whole swinging my arm around to fight stuff by the end of it. Ratchet and Clank Future something.
I think I played that. I think Tools of Destruction was the one I played. I remember that one.
Yeah, I played one of the PS3 ones. I think it was that one.
Ratchet and Clank on the PS2 was my shit. That was my jam.
Wasn't one of the Ratchet and Clanks like a GTA clone? Was that Jak and Daxter?
GTA clone? No,
like,
maybe Jak and Daxter.
Like one of them, they just did a game where it was like an open world, steal cars and shit. Was that not Ratchet and Clank?
Not that I can think of, no.
Oh, okay.
No,
speaking of clones, Crackdown.
No, didn't play that. People only played Crackdown because it came bundled with a demo for Halo 3.
You're fucking wrong. You're fucking wrong. That was definitely a good way to sell it. The first Crackdown was fucking amazing. Mm-hmm. Like, the second one was not so much, and the third one definitely wasn't. Mm-hmm. But the first one was so fucking good. It was so good. It was like super powered GTA. Like and the fucking
you leap from building to building.
Yeah,
and
like the collectible aspect of it that now every fucking open world Ubisoft game has taken and ran into the ground was fresh and new. So the whole just jumping around collecting collectibles for collectibles' sake wasn't like a thing you'd done before. And we're gonna get to Assassin's Creed in just a moment. So so Crackdown was fresh, real fresh, and you could like shoot out tires to make cars skid out, and you could punch cars into enemies when you upped your strength and stuff. Crackdown 1 was fucking awesome. Peggle, John, is our next one on our list.
I mean, at least played a demo. I think I had Peggle on my iPod. That was a thing. You could buy games
iPod
on your iPad
video with the little spin wheel?
With the little spinny wheel. Yeah, they had Sonic on your iPod. There was a I can't remember what the type of game is, but it's one where it would scan a song. You'd give it a song to choose. It would scan it and then make like a character out of it and rank it in like from like 1 star to 5 stars. And then it was like a like the tile based kind of Fire Emblem, kind of Into the Breach layout combat thing, turn based move and
4X,
fight thing.
Is that what they call it?
What, sorry?
Is that a 4X game?
I don't know, but yeah, it was an iPod game where you basically had an isometric turn-based game where you would summon creatures based on songs that you scanned in from your iPod.
It sounds amazingly ambitious to the point that it wouldn't work.
It was fine. It was fine. Like, it was good to pass the time, and it was a marked step up from the music quiz that was on the iPod to pass the time.
Yeah, I smashed the shit out of Peggle. I think I might have 1000 G or 200 G Peggle, whatever the G was for Peggle at the time. I think I finished it. Right, we're coming to the big boys, but there's two smaller ones before we get to the big boys.
Okay.
Avatar.
No. Do you mean which one? Avatar the movie or Avatar the Last Airbender?
Well, I played both of those.
Yeah. Aren't they both really renowned for being like easy 1000 gamerscore games?
Yes, but one of the... So Avatar the Last Airbender is pressing the B button like 12 times, and then you've got 1000 G. Did that, turned it off, took it back to Game Station. That was maybe in 2008 when I was at Game Station, you could borrow second-hand games overnight.
Yeah.
The other one, the James Cameron's Avatar, required you to actually play through the storyline for like 6 or 7 hours. So I couldn't do it. I couldn't finish it. So I got like 400, 500 G out of it. Next up is Crash Bandicoot... Crash of the Titans, sorry.
No,
me neither. To the point that even though I was grinding out achievements, and I love Crash Bandicoots 1 through 3, I always found the crashes after that so disingenuous and so hollow, not because they weren't Naughty Dog titles. I fucking hated them.
I played the first one that came out on PS2.
Wrath of Cortex? No.
Wrath of Cortex, yeah. So I played that. I played like maybe one world worth because the load times in that game were abysmal.
That's interesting.
It took like a minute and a half to load
the new
level.
Crash games are like that as well, just by chance. I don't think there's any link because obviously different systems, different developers. But like the Crash Team Racing remake recently, I couldn't play it because the load times were too long, even when installed on a hard drive.
It's not impatience. It's literally just going like, I'm not going to sit here for a minute and a half to play a 3-minute game and then wait for it to load another minute to go back into a menu.
That's not impatience. Like,
ridiculous.
Your time is worth more than that. Right, we're coming to the big boys.
Yep.
So Google lists Crackdown again. So I'm just going to say the first Crackdown was fucking banging.
Yep.
Then it has Half-Life 2, Episode 2. So did you play it?
Yes.
Yes. And it was fucking awesome, right?
Yes, amazing.
So
fantastic.
We'll probably there's spoilers now, just to let anyone know at home who hasn't played this 13-year-old game. We're going to talk spoilers a little bit, but go on, John.
Yeah. I think I remember again, going back to zero punctuation, because it was very much more of a thing at that time. Obviously, like Yahtzee had a much more kind of voice because there wasn't quite as much of a wide video presence for funny game reviews or
sure,
kind of,
I agree with that, but I think this was the year that he started because the Darkness.
It was the year, Darkness, Heavenly Swords, that kind of stuff. That era where he kind of started doing videos, and I remember like Half-Life 2 Episode 2 and the Orange Box in general being one of his first few videos. But one of the things where he mentions, which is absolutely true, is that you suddenly just get a character called Magnus or Magnuson. The doctor, and he's just in the game. He's like, oh yeah, this is the guy. We know the guy, right? Yeah, he's here.
Yeah, the other scientist.
Yeah, the other scientist who isn't Mossman.
Isn't he also potentially a bad guy? Like, isn't it?
Yeah, he's really shrouded in mystery and kind of you're not quite sure if he's a good guy or not.
But in some ways, I really would love it one day to be that. It turns out that character was inserted by the G-Man into everyone's memories and he wasn't there before. But we'll never get that because we're never going to get it finished. Like, I love Half-Life 2 so much, and Episode 1 isn't actually that good. Like, it's okay in terms of like character motivation and building, but gameplay-wise, it's boring as shit.
Episode 1 is just in the Citadel running around grey corridors.
Oh no! There's bits with Alex. There's bits where.
You're both in the Citadel.
Yeah. It's boring though. It's fucking boring. It's fucking boring. But like Half-Life Episode 2 is a whole road trip thing. You've got all the new enemies. You've got like the going underground and like seeing like the burrows of the what they call is it Vortigons? Vortigons. Like all that stuff. The cliffhanger ending, like the rocket launch, like. Fuck, it's so good.
The ending battle against the Hunters.
Yep, the Hunters are fucking awesome because again,
with the
like
Magnuson devices where you magnet the things onto them and they're like bombs, magnetic bombs.
Like the weird thing about Half-Life 2 Episode 2, comparing it to Half-Life 2 itself, was that a lot of the fights felt a bit open. Like you could approach them from different ways,
you could like run around
angles.
and like avoid stuff and
well, not just avoiding stuff. I mean, like you could throw obviously the gravity gun and stuff like that. You could blockade doors. You could throw things out of doors. You could climb onto buildings for using stuff to get ahead of people. You had the crossbow to fight from far away. Like it gave you ways to play the game. Where Half-Life 1 was just Half-Life 2 Episode 1 was more of a corridor shooter. So Episode 2 is amazing, and I'm fucking every time I talk about it, it gets me sad that we haven't had like a finale because we had a cliffhanger ending, like a real cliffhanger ending. But. Don't forget, it's something that people don't talk about much anymore because it was a controversy at the time, but no one really talks anymore about it because it's so long ago. But Half-Life 2 ended on a cliffhanger. didn't it?
It did.
Yeah, you got frozen in time, and G-Man was like, "Sorry, free man, Valve haven't finished the game yet." It's like that, wasn't it? Like,
we're going to put you in cold storage.
Yeah. Oh, fucking so lame. Like, it's cool on the whole. Once you have the whole thing, you can look back on it and be like, "Oh, that's cool." But it was so obvious that they just hadn't got a full game ready. Yeah, like, let's cut this ending bit off and focus on finishing this.
Well, don't forget, like, Half-Life. This is again, we're going back to 2004, 2003 now. But Half-Life 2, the development of that game, they had like leaks and all kinds of
people thought it was vaporware. People thought it wasn't going to come out.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it wouldn't surprise me that they were somewhat rushed to put the game out. I wasn't necessarily disappointed with the ending, but it did just kind of stop. Mm-hmm. And that's the weird thing. It's like, you've got a cool kind of rush to the top of the Citadel, and there
was no climax. It was literally
it just stops.
I love that game so much, but the ending was bullshit. And then the fact that the second episode ends on the same sort of bullshit and we're never going to get it fucks me off so much.
Yeah.
Kind of like Halo 2 as well. Like, people don't talk about this anymore, but back in the day, people talk about it a lot on forums. Halo 2's ending was bullshit. It's like, I'm going to go finish the fight, and there's like a chime of a piano and it's done. And you're like, but what? We're not going to finish the fight. And then the third game is finishing the fight as we're coming to it. It's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
The Darkness. Did you play The Darkness?
No.
It was fucking awesome. I love The Darkness. But we're going to not focus...
That's the one where you had like the tentacles on either side of your vision,
Yeah,
right?
and it's based on a comic book from IDW. You're like a mob boss who gets killed, and then because of his like... I'm remembering this from fucking years ago, so sorry in the comment section if I fucked this up. But your whole family is plagued by like a demon that doesn't let you die until you've done its bidding, so it brings you back from the dead, but you have to fight your way out of like a World War I hellscape with faceless like German pseudo-Nazi / World War I soldiers, and once you fight your way back out of that, you get back to Earth, and your girlfriend's been... I think she gets murdered, actually, in front of you. She gets, like, shot through the head. But it's very much girlfriend and refrigerator for that.
Yeah.
And then you try to kill yourself again, but the demons won't let you because your character doesn't want to live anymore. And then you just go out and fuck people up. And it had a cool, again, approaching combat with different abilities and spells and things you could do. It was cool. It's very edgy, very much of its time. If I replay it now, I'll probably be rolling my eyes to the point that I'm sick. Orange Box, we already said, was fucking gas.
Yep.
Command & Conquer 3 sucked. Okay. Here's a big one. We're getting to the big ones now, right?
Yep.
Guitar Hero 3, John.
I had this game twice. So, as we mentioned before, I didn't get a PS3 until like a year or two. Actually, no, like 2 years after release.
Right.
So, I had a PS2. And so, the year this came out, I got it on a PS2. And I beat the game in a day.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, but like going through the campaign of a Guitar Hero game does only take like an hour or two, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I guess...
not to shit on your achievement, John.
At that point in my life, I was playing a lot of Guitar Hero games.
Right, okay. It was your jam.
Which just kind of led into it, because if I lean this way, I've now got all my guitars behind me here.
Oh, did you start playing guitar because of Guitar Hero?
It was around the same time.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
I think I played Guitar Hero first and then picked up guitar after that.
Like, so I played myself and my wife, my now wife, at the time I was not wife, I was only 8, obviously. We played shit tons of just Guitar Hero. Like, Guitar Hero 2 came out a lot later on the Xbox 360, and then Guitar Hero 3 launched on 360 as well, I think. And I picked up Guitar Hero 3 as my first one after buying the second one. Bought 4, bought maybe 5 and all the other roughs and shit, but...
The reason why I got Guitar Hero 3 on PS3 is because you had the downloadable songs. You could buy songs off the PlayStation Store, which had
the beginnings of DLC here, because we didn't really have DLC like this.
I guess like they were more treated like expansion packs, I guess, right? They weren't. It wasn't like DLC. I mean, it's downloadable content, but it's not predatory downloadable content because it was cheap and it gave you what you wanted.
I don't know. Let's unpack that a little bit, because like there's also I think it was this time that I remember like thinking, I bet a lot of these songs were probably planned to be on it anyway, and they're going to hold them back. This is the period where we start seeing things get held back. Like we see, I mean, don't forget Horse Armor and Oblivion and all that shit happened a year before, like beginning of 2006, maybe late 2005. Yeah, so like DLC had just started really ramping up for PC, for games consoles. Expansion packs existed on PC for years, sure, but I think this is the beginning of microtransaction DLC, because like you're buying 49p songs or whatever, right?
I think there was a. I think one of the ones I got was a shred guitar one, because of course when you're like 16, you're like, yeah, give me the shred guitar. It was like Steve Vai, Buckethead, and Joe Satriani.
Did you buy them packs of 3? Did you?
Yeah, it was like £4 for 3 songs, which wasn't the worst return really. It's like to get them at all like expert level. Look,
I mean, you're buying. Okay, look at this. You're buying a £40 game with what? 80 songs in it, maybe less, 60 songs, and then you're paying £4 for 3 more.
Yeah,
it's not the best
not
value.
It's not, I mean, but you know, it wasn't too bad at the time, and it wasn't forced down your throat. So
yeah, I guess. But I think this is definitely...
It was released. I think the songs were released quite a lot later, and they did. I guess it's hard to justify in context now. It's hard to justify how they charge so much, but you're like, yeah, well, I mean, they had to like program get the license to the song. They had to program the charts.
Yeah, and I mean, like I buy skins for League now, so I'm not totally like anti DLC. If anyone watching this thinking I'm some sort of fucking like high horse bullshit, I'm just saying like I'm not even saying like buying those is bad. I'm just saying they weren't the best value, and I also think it was the beginning of this was the beginning of the descent that we've gone into, where like the AAA games industry just wants to fucking. I guess you slash his hair.
I guess the point, like it's a slightly different point, is that music rights, I guess, are a pricey business.
Sure.
So they were the licensed songs themselves. So you're paying for the actual song as opposed to a cover, which is what Guitar Hero did for the longest time up until.
Oh, that is true. Yeah. 3 was the first one that had the non-cover versions, right? Like.
Yeah, or most of them were non-covers. There were a few they couldn't get the rights to.
Yeah.
But so you had to, like the song packs. You still had to pay the music rights for those songs to sell them. So
with your love of Guitar Hero 3, how do you feel about Rock Band?
I got Rock Band 1, 2, 3, Rock Band the Beatles. Like they're fine. I got them after the fact, quite late on in my usage of the PS3.
Did you have the whole kit?
I did. Well, I had one guitar. I had the drums. I even got the fake guitar for Guitar Hero 3, which is the one which has like 100 buttons and nylon strings, so you could like play guitar. It's awful, don't use it. And also the keyboard for the MIDI
I
keyboard.
never knew this.
So, yeah.
I'm discovering a lot. I didn't know you were that super into it.
Yeah.
So I worked in a game store through the Rock Band craze, so we had like fucking like no room to move because they were like bringing in these kits, and the boxes were like. I couldn't fit. If I was holding it now, I don't think it'd fit into shot on my wide-angle lens.
Yeah.
They were fucking absurd. And then we'd sell them, and then people would like, trade them back in, and we're like, oh, can we really fit another 3 of these fucking things? Because we had like no storage. Yeah. So that whole period. But like, I liked Rock Band. Rock Band, the Beatles you mentioned, was actually got me into the Beatles. Like, I played it for achievements. So I do like these kind of rhythm action games. Yeah. And then I was like, actually, do you know what? I always thought I didn't like the Beatles, but I think I was just being a pompous teenager, and actually... this music's great, so now I really like the Beatles because of Rock Band the Beatles.
It's interesting how I think if I have my timeline correct in the release of things, is that after Guitar Hero 2, I think they released the band that got Rock Band the Beatles. Obviously, because like before then, the rights to get Beatles songs for anything was quite difficult. So in order to get a game in which you can play like 40-something Beatles songs, was Aerosmith. Guitar Hero Aerosmith, I think, was the first one.
Yes,
and then they had like Van Halen and Metallica, but I think the first one was Rocks the 80s, which was also fucking rad.
There were so many spin-offs of Unreal, but So Aerosmith, I believe, again, we could be wrong, but I do think you're right, it was the first spin-off of a particular band, and I also hated it, because I think Aerosmith
There are only a couple Aerosmith songs that are any good. We've had this discussion before.
It's not even a couple, John, it's like 2, and one of those is a bit problematic, so let's just move on from fucking Aerosmith.
Yep.
So, what was your favourite Guitar Hero Rock Band game?
3.
Hands down, 3. Okay.
Guitar Hero 3.
And do you miss it? Because obviously, what Activision, if you don't know, what Activision did was they ground this game.
I think it was 2009, 2010 whenever Warriors of Rock was released. That was the year that they released like 30 band hero games.
Don't forget
like
DJ Hero.
Band Hero, DJ Hero 2.
Fucking
I mean, like the year before you had like Rock Band 2, Rock Band 3, Rock Band the Beatles, you've had Guitar Hero World Tour, you had Guitar Hero all the artist ones.
Do you think if they didn't oversaturate the market, do you reckon they'd still be going now and we'd have like Flute Hero and like...
No,
like
I think they'd... Obviously, we tried to play the modern Guitar Hero when we were around your house. Like,
Which one? Oh yeah, because I
Guitar Hero
bought,
Live.
Yeah, because I bought Guitar Hero Live. Yeah, I forgot about that. I bought it as like a novelty because it was like £15 in Argos.
And now the servers are dead, so you can't play the game.
Yeah, the servers were up when we tried to play, right?
They were, but now they're shut down.
That's fucking hilarious. Happens a lot of that stuff, like Tony Hawk's games and stuff. Okay, so Guitar Hero 3 is your favourite Guitar Hero. My favourite Guitar Hero is Donkey Konga. That's the best rhythm action game, okay?
It's alright. I mean, the problem is that the songs... I owned the bongos. I did...
I have 4 pairs of bongos, John, in my attic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We could do a 4-player Smash match with just bongos.
Did you play the...
Donkey Kong Jungle Beat? Yes.
Jungle Beat.
Hang on, no, am I getting the wrong way around? Is Jungle Beat the rhythm action and Konga is the
Donkey Konga is the game, which is the music game.
Yeah, because it's got
and
like
Jungle Beat,
Blur Song 2 and a few other licensed tracks in it, hasn't it? It's like 10, yeah. And then Jungle Beat is
Jungle Beat's
literally beat the shit out of like things, the bongos. Yeah, it's great.
You collect the bananas and you like swing off shit and like
you collect the bananas. That doesn't
in a
narrow
Donkey
down.
Kong game. It's unheard of.
Right, moving on to another game.
You have to like clap to like gather to pop balloons.
because the Donkey Konga bongos have 2 bongos, then they have a little mic in the middle, so they can sense the clap as well. So another game famous for its bananas, The Witcher.
I've not played any Witcher games.
The third one's good, I guess.
Obviously, I think that's the main one, right?
The Witcher was a huge fucking PC release that I think got a games console release a lot later, and I could never get into it. As I used to play a lot of PC RPGs when I was a lot younger, and The Witcher was just like, A, it ran poorly on a lot of systems, if I remember correctly, especially mine, and B, it was like insufferable how much stuff was going on. So if you've played The Witcher 3 and you've not played the original Witcher, like, imagine the UI of Witcher 3, but with just more. Imagine it doubled. And then, like, you've got, like 60 different keys on your keyboard to fight with 2 different swords. And I just remember finding it very frustrating to play. And the whole James Bond banging a chick in every town thing was just like... Even then, I was, like, rolling my eyes when I was only 8. Uncharted, Drake's Fortune.
Okay, so I've played one Uncharted game. It was that one, but it was the PS4 release.
Why have you not played any more Uncharted, John?
Because I don't like them.
Oh, I love them.
I don't... am I going to get my soapbox because I don't like modern Naughty Dog games?
What is it you don't like about Uncharted?
I think I found the combat to be annoying.
It's great.
I don't like the hide behind the kind of hide behind a surface.
It's part of the cover
behind it, and then
it's part of the cover shooter like phenomenon. The whole really I think Yahtzee talked about this. The whole moving up a linear plane, almost like playing Donkey Kong in a way, where you're moving up behind objects. But this actually broke that because you could leap over cover and jump and climb.
Yeah, I think I finished the first one out of obligation to at least beat one of them.
I think the first one. I
tried to play the second one, and it was a bit where you had to like climb down a train. Like a train that kind of crashed.
That's the best bit, John.
I think I just prefer They always felt to me like they were just films with more steps to seeing the next set piece, and I got bored and I just wasn't interested. It just didn't click with me. Same thing with Last of Us. Like I tried to play Last of Us, and I was just like, yeah, the story's compelling. Wow. The story's compelling, but the stealth wasn't fun. The combat wasn't particularly fun. So you haven't played The Last of Us 2 then? No,
neither have I literally, because of just with content and like wanting to do the Warhammer thing, I just like, if I buy it now, I'm just not going to play it, so I'm just waiting. Yeah. And then like the gaming spheres went mad with people defending it, people not defending it, gamers getting upset because there might be a woman who's powerful. I don't fucking know. I was just, so much, the controversy just pissed me off so much I couldn't be bothered. Yeah. But I will play it because I love the first one. But that's a game I believe didn't need a fucking sequel as well. I have a lot to say about that sort of thing. Maybe another episode and stuff. Okay. Here we are with the big 5 or 6, I think we're on to now. We already talked briefly about God of War 2 and Team Fortress. We're going to talk about them. Mass Effect. Did you play Mass Effect?
No, never played any of them.
Fucking hell, John! Fucking hell, John!
Never appealed to me. Never appealed to me whatsoever.
The first Mass Effect was so fucking good. The problem with Mass Effect 1 was I always complained that the ending was shit because it just like made a lot of your choices not really matter. Like you couldn't talk the end villain down. He'd always turn into a big spatial glacial monster thing. But Mass Effect was great. But okay, there's not really much to say because you don't know anything about it, John. But
you can talk about it if you want, like the dialogue choices and alignment.
Sure. What I was going to say about these games that we don't have to reiterate the same shit that everyone else has said. Like Halo 3 is one of the games that the people have written the most number of words about, and Call of Duty 4 as well, right? So other than our own anecdotes and maybe anything we think is more insightful, we don't have to go over why they were that good.
Well, I didn't play Halo 3, so
I guess that's my job again then. But Mass Effect, I'm going to say everyone talk about the dialogue trees and shit, but like the dialogue trees were just the same dialogue parallel trees that BioWare had been doing for years in like Jade Empire, Knights of the Old Republic, and then back when they were Black Isle Studios with all of the Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale to a lesser extent, Planescape Torment. It's the same like lineage of games. So Mass Effect is the modern version of that. I never finished 3. Again, the controversy just wound me up to the point where I just didn't care enough anymore. Yeah. So by the time it got around to fully released and I picked it up, I just didn't care. And then Andromeda I played an hour of and I was like, this is literally the most middling of experiences ever. Crysis, John!
No.
Crysis was phenomenal. Even if I played
I didn't have a PC good enough for it.
Yeah, I still think it's phenomenal. This game has so much detail in it that other games still don't have. In this game, you can shoot trees to pieces by pinpoint shooting at certain parts in the fucking palm tree, John. You can punch a palm tree down, John, activate your strength, pick up the palm tree and throw it at people. It's got so much weird dynamics. Most of the buildings, like the huts and the wooden buildings, you can shoot through, plow through with vehicles. Most of the terrain is destructible. And then later on, the game is the switch where like you're very familiar with your environment. So you go into an alien spaceship. It's one of the best alien spaceships you'll ever go into in a video game because it's really like you're floating around, topsy-turvy, nothing makes sense. And then they just freeze the entire island and now everything's frozen. So like you've got this like switch in the game and the feel. And again, it still looks good to this day. Crysis is, I think, an underrated gem, weirdly. Yep. Because people always just going about how good it looked.
After all the memes about, does this run Crysis?
Because, they should never have pushed it that far. But Crysis was fucking amazing. And the second one was a disappointment. And the third one was a disappointment. And they've never lived up to the first.
They made 3 Crysis games?
Yeah, so the second one... So the first one was always like, you were in like a large open area. Similar to like Halo, where you can skip out and go around things and stuff. In terms of like the bigger open area bits. Yeah. And then Crysis 2 put you in a city and like really squeezing the maps. You had like big rectangular areas you could fight in and have approaches, like we said about Half-Life Episode 2. Like approaches to the combat. But then you didn't have the swaths of open area. It was much more contained. And then Crysis 3, I'll be honest, I've played like an hour or two of it to like test the last rig. I might install it on this one as well and try and run it at like 1440p or whatever. Yeah. And again, I was just like, I don't know, the boat's gone on this one. And maybe I've got nostalgia for the original Crysis. But I feel like it ticks boxes that no game since has done. And that's always something. Because a lot of the games we're about to talk about now have been reiterated upon now, right? Like Assassin's Creed. Did you play Assassin's Creed?
Nope.
Jonathan! To be honest, that boat has sailed. Like, no one... Like,
I have comments of Assassin's Creed influenced games.
Go on then. I'm
playing one right now.
What are you playing?
Like, the whole... I'm playing Ghost of Tsushima.
I thought that was a Dark Souls-esque game.
No. Ghost of Tsushima is basically Assassin's Creed, but with very good combat that kind of gets into that Dark Souls-y kind of stances, parrying, dodging, that kind of stuff, but not to the depth that.
So what makes it Assassin's Creed like then?
Open worlds, lots of different tasks, lots of different collectibles.
Too many collectibles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Or like different kind of. I don't know if it's an Assassin's Creed thing or if it's another kind of series, but like different outfits giving you different bonuses and buffs and stuff. And
well, that is a thing in the more recent Assassin's Creed because I've stopped picking them up, but I know that. Well, what happened was Assassin's Creed wasn't very good for the longest time. Like it's just the same fucking thing over and over with different skin. Yeah. And then with Odyssey and what was before Odyssey? Origins and Odyssey. Yeah, the Egypt and the Greek ones. Supposedly they've reformed it, but then I heard that it's gear grinding. They're like, you grind out for gear. I'm like, that's not my thing either. So I think I'll leave that. So I think that's become a thing of the series. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but like I'm very like I'm enjoying. I think open world games are very difficult to kind of balance, I guess. I mean, they all kind of stem from the Assassin's Creed template to a degree, or at least Assassin's Creed 2 when it kind of takes a concept and refines it. But open world games have kind of got to the point where they are like weird collectathons, almost like Banjo-Kazooie, where you have to collect all the records and the banners. Because
it was feathers in Assassin's Creed 2, and it made no sense because it was like you were trying to get them for your mother because she was sad that someone had died and get them over the grief, but then the game took place over like a 15-year period, so you were collecting these fucking feathers for this woman who was trying to get over grief for 15 years. It made no fucking sense. And the first one just had flags with no storyline, so they were completely outside of the whole game. But you are right, you had like obviously GTA created part of the template, Assassin's Creed created the other part of the template, and now we have open world games where the climbing a tower thing as well. All Ubisoft games have the climbing a tower thing.
So Ghost of Tsushima has that as well. Yeah, lighthouses.
Of course it does. But I mean, these are just conventions that I guess the trends that the games industry will move out of eventually.
But ultimately, it's not a bad template. like I saw Merchant critique the game, saying that it is essentially a game devoid of like a unique point. It's just recycled things. Like, it,
but
like
I mean,
if you think of an element of the game, then it's likely lifted from something else.
But I think originality is overrated, honestly. Like, I know I've just sat and said that Crysis got things that other games haven't done before, but sometimes people are too quick to be like, well, this isn't original. Like, who gives a shit? Like,
yeah, no, but I'm having a blast with the game. Like, I think the open world is cool. The navigation system where you have the wind to guide you where you go is very cool. The setting's gorgeous. It's one of the most graphically impressive games on the PS4 I think to date, honestly. The combat is so satisfying. Like, the combat systems, the stance switching, the like bows and the quick ammo weapons, like, they all mix together to make combat really interesting.
I genuinely thought it was... Well, so Assassin's Creed clones and I guess Dark Souls-esque or likes or clones. Again, both of those things don't interest me anymore. Like, I'm just fucking tired of them. Why, like, didn't you play the Star Wars game recently? The
Fallen Order. Yeah, Fallen Order was great.
I fucking love Star Wars, but I'm literally not interested in that game. It's just so bizarre.
That pushes a lot more towards the Dark Souls kind of punishing combat. Yeah.
And I think, like I said, those things just do not interest me anymore because we've had so much of it.
Yeah.
Where any other Star Wars thing, like the whole Star Wars First Squadron thing, I will probably buy that on release because that's whatever it's called, the new. I'm so fucking bad with names.
Is it just Squadrons?
First Squadrons, whatever it's called, Squadrons. Yeah. That looks fucking sick. I'm so excited for that. So yeah, I'm just kind of sick of these fucking reiterative things, which again, I guess that's funny because Assassin's Creed is where a lot of this started, I guess. Game that was not reiterated on and kind of passed over and they carried on. Super Mario Galaxy?
I didn't complete it, but I did play it.
Oh.
It's fine.
It's phenomenal.
Maybe it's because I at that point I'm kind of got over the hub world Mario games.
But I mean, they only come around once every fucking decade, Sean. Like, give them a chance.
I mean, you had Super Mario Galaxy, Super Mario Galaxy 2, and then you had
so did you play it after Galaxy 2?
Pardon, sorry?
Did you play it after Galaxy 2?
No, I didn't play Galaxy 2 because I didn't like Galaxy 1 that much.
I thought Galaxy 2 was shit. Like, as in, like, again, this originality is overrated, but at the same time, you don't want the same thing again necessarily. Completely, like if I eat a very nice steak, I don't want the same steak again immediately afterwards.
Yeah, definitely.
And I thought Mario Galaxy was fucking awesome, and I played like half of Mario Galaxy 2, and I was like, well, I've done this already. Like, it's Mario Galaxy with Yoshi. Like, that's not.
Yeah.
And I'm a big Nintendo fanboy, and I was like, this isn't enough for me. But I thought Mario Galaxy was fucking... I bought Mario Galaxy on the same day that I bought Assassin's Creed. I bought the collector's edition of Assassin's Creed that came with a big Ezio, which I then sold on eBay like 6 or 7 years later for like 4 times the cost.
It wasn't Ezio, it was Altair.
Altair, sorry. Altair is the first one, Ezio is the second one. So yeah, Altair. Yeah, because Ezio's a prick. People say he's a great character. Shit character. Altair wasn't a good character either. He didn't say anything, sure.
Yeah.
Neither was Desmond Miles. Desmond Miles? No. That's Lost, isn't it? Desmond, the guy who's in the future playing his memories.
Yeah.
And they dropped that completely. Anyway, I had this giant Altair that I sold on eBay for a complete bomb, and I bought that on the same day as Mario Galaxy, got on a bus to go home, and I spent the entire weekend just playing these two games. And that was like one of my fondest memories of that period in gaming.
Yeah.
Portal.
Yeah, fucking one of the best games ever made.
Yeah,
honestly.
It's fucking so good.
And it's also stunning game.
No one expected it as well. It was like a plot twist of a video game where they're like, oh, it's going to be a cool puzzler. It looks like a cool puzzler. Like, no, it's got this whole narrative aspect that you're not expecting. This whole like double twist turn thing. I don't even want to mention about what it is. Like, if you haven't played Portal and you're like, puzzle games or just narrative games, games with like a plot you can follow, I generally think like either of those categories should fucking play this game. But who hasn't played Portal, right? Who the fuck hasn't played Portal? It created the most boring video game meme of all time. I have a t-shirt that says the cake is a lie because I got it and now I'd be embarrassed to wear it, John.
Yeah,
I'd be embarrassed to wear it.
Yep.
Right, Bioshock. Please tell me you played Bioshock.
I've played all the Bioshocks.
Fuck for that.
I think it's because it's an FPS, right? It's an FPS, and I'm down for FPSs. So.
Oh, but you haven't played Crysis, you fake gamer girl.
That's because I didn't have a PC to run it.
Okay, so you like Bioshock?
Yeah, fucking love it.
Yeah,
I enjoyed Bioshock 2.
Yeah, me too. I think Bioshock 2 gets a lot more of a poor rep than it deserves.
It's still Bioshock 2 has a lot of good parts in terms of quality of life gameplay improvements.
Yeah, so Bioshock 2, if I remember, again, it's been a while now, you can dual wield, right?
Yes, so
Yeah,
you have plasmids, you have active plasmids and a weapon at the same time.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry, that's what I meant. Sorry, is that you could have plasmid and gun active at the same time. Where the first one you had to switch between them. I kind of wish when they did the HD remake of Bioshock, if they could, I guess it might be more difficult than I'm making out to be. They'd added that just that to the original game.
That would, I think, wouldn't that twist the game to be something else though? Because like you. Retrospectively adding mechanics to a game just because they were slightly better in its sequel kind of seems like it's, correcting.
Yeah, sure, it's corrective history, but it would have made the game. No, it's not for no reason. Like you said, it's a quality of life update. It would have made the game just more fun to play. Like people going back and playing Bioshock now struggle because they complain about parts of the combat. And I think that element improves the combat so much. It's unreal.
That's true, but I guess, I suppose the game is balanced around having that. But that pace of play, I suppose, is the best way of putting it. Whereas Bioshock 2, because you were fighting so many more big daddies and stuff, because you were much more heavily armed in that game. That's a pun because you have a drill arm as well. Yes. Which I didn't even realise at the time.
I mean, it might shift the balance a little bit, but I still think it would just make the game better. Like, if you can have plasmids and guns at the same time, it'd make the game so much better to the point that, I can say to people, you should go back and play this game, they'll play it. Like, I've got some young, was it my cousin? Yeah, my niece's future husband. I think he was telling me that he couldn't play he loved Infinity so much that he wanted to play Infinite, that he wanted to play the original Bioshock, but he couldn't because the combat felt so sluggish and cumbersome. And I think that's merely because of those things.
There's 6 years difference between Infinite and Bioshock 1.
Sure.
And there's a lot of differences in terms of how the combat was staged, how the combat pacing is, how your enemies behave. It's like Bioshock Infinite has a lot of human enemies, so they're just armed and they're either going to charge you with a melee weapon or you can shoot them and they're going to shoot you back.
Yeah.
Whereas in Bioshock, you've got the splicers who are crawling up walls and fucking around.
Yeah, well, spider splicers climb walls. Yeah, but again, they were more of a boss character that you didn't fight that often. But again, I actually replayed Bioshock 1. Only a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, to replay it on the HD version because again, achievements for all my favourite games. If you give me one of my favourite games with 4K rares or slightly shinier textures and achievements, I will replay it. So I've started playing Resi 4 on so many different consoles. Bioshock I've replayed twice. If MGS 4 came out tomorrow on Xbox One, I'll be playing the shit out of it just for the
That's an interesting one. That's an interesting one. MGS 4?
Yeah, MGS 4.
Is that your...
No, it's not one of my favourites, but it's the only one of the MGS series that I cannot play with achievements right now. Or MGS 1, I guess, arguably. If Twin Snakes came out on Xbox 360 or Xbox One tomorrow, then I'll be all over that as well. But I played 2 and 3.
Did I tell you that I picked up Twin Snakes?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
I fucking love that game.
It was so good. It's so good.
Have you played it?
Yeah, I played it on stream.
Have you finished it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You finished it on stream?
Yeah, I played it. I did it in 8 hours.
I feel like you only told me you picked it up yesterday.
I bought it a month ago.
Time is flying by.
I got it delivered. I was like, right, we're streaming this.
It's fucking amazing. It's so good.
Yeah, it's so good.
I don't. For people who are watching and what the fuck are you about? Twin Snakes was the Metal Gear Solid 1 remake for the GameCube in the Metal Gear Solid 2 engine, including the first-person camera elements. But it also, Hideo Kojima gave the directing rights over to some guy who directed anime. He directed The Zone of the Enders for him. So there's bits where Solid Snake is spinning through the air, dodging bullets, and then he backflips off a missile to fire a Nikita rocket through a hind D, and it's wild. The game is wild, and it's more violent too. The death of Grey Fox is just way more brutal. In the first one, if you thought it was brutal, in the original, if you thought it was brutal, where you just see it smears him across the floor.
Yeah, the meat crayon.
The meat crayon.
Meat crayon, where he slides the foot across.
I see what you mean. Yeah, it's so fucking good. To finish 2007 then, because we're coming to a close of this inaugural episode of our Variety Hour, where we have only talked about games, but maybe next week we'll talk about meat. I don't fucking
Something
know.
Else.
The two obvious ones. The two
2007 in steaks.
Halo 3. There's not really a whole lot to say about Halo 3.
I played Halo 1 and Halo 2. But because I didn't own an Xbox 360, I didn't play Halo 3.
John, you said because you liked FPSs, you played Bioshock.
The other prerequisite is I didn't own the console to play that game.
Okay, so you didn't play Halo 3. Did you play Modern Warfare 2? Oh, Modern Warfare 1, sorry. Call of Duty 4.
Because it was on PS3. I had a PS3.
Because these are two of the biggest shooting games of all time. Right?
I played Modern Warfare 1, I think, was one of the first games we got for the PS3 because my dad wanted to play it.
Right.
And I played through that and it was great. And Modern Warfare 2 has one of my fond memories because World at War can fuck off. World at War introduced Nazi zombies, but isn't a good game really. Like grenades are everywhere. It's unpleasant.
I hate it. I literally hate it.
It's not good. Modern Warfare 2. So that was 2009.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first year of uni. The day it was released, I was drunkenly stumbling home from the pub, and HMV was open because they did a midnight release.
Oh, really?
So I was drunk coming home from the pub, walked past HMV, stumbled in and bought the game, went home, played it for 2 hours, and then fell asleep.
Here's a question, because this is I feel like this was the period where midnight releases really hit their peak.
Yeah,
did you used to go to midnight releases?
I didn't. That was the only one I did accidentally.
Okay, because I got Halo 3 at midnight. I got GTA 4 at midnight. I got the next 3 Call of Duties or 4 Call of Duties at midnight. Yeah, I was mad keen for it, but I played a lot of video games. I wanted to be a video game journalist. I like working in a game store and stuff, I guess. But I guess it's weird because, like, again, there's not much to say about some of these things, but for those who are watching this who are a bit young, I guess, and don't realise this, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1 was the... Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare was the game that changed Call of Duty from World War 2 to World War...
It changed FPSs.
And then what it did was, it introduced, progressive RPG elements to your tracking online, which existed before this. So, Rainbow Six Vegas had elements of that. There were games that already had things where you unlocked guns and stuff, but not to this extent where you customize classes and stuff like that.
Modern Warfare, for the impact that it had, apart from the Halos and the kind of slightly more kind of off-kilter Bioshock first-person shooters, Modern Warfare changed first-person shooters.
I think Call of Duty might, especially Call of Duty 4, might be one of the most important pop cultural phenomenons of all time.
Definitely.
There are things that compare to it now, like Fortnite and Minecraft are obviously comparable. Mm-hmm. Halo is definitely comparable because Halo kind of led the way a little bit. But for my context, I was playing Medal of Honor Allied Assault, which was the first Infinity Ward PC Call of Duty that feels like Medal of Honor that feels like Call of Duty. So Allied Assault, Call of Duty 2, and then Call of Duty 3 was the first, I think it was it Treyarch, or was some other company making it for the release of the game's consoles and stuff, and it was shit. And then they came back with Call of Duty 4 Infinity Ward, and they were like, here's Modern Warfare, and it was just fucking revolutionary. So at this time, I worked in a bar before I worked at the games station when I was at college, and my friends used to get round to my friend Carl's house, and they'd play Halo 3, 4 people on a screen, playing online, because you could play 4 people online, which is a great thing about Halo 3. And a bit of Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 1 or 2. And Call of Duty 4 came out. It's the day or the day after. I had walked back from the bar to go into my friend's house to go see them all like I normally would. And I got there and they had there's 5 copies of Call of Duty 4 on the side where they'd all bought it that day or the day before and hadn't played it yet. And they were playing Halo. I was like, guys, have you played the multiplayer of this yet? And they're like, no, I'm going to do the campaign tomorrow. No one was really fussed about playing the multiplayer in my friend circle. So I said, let's just give it a bash. And we played a couple of free-falls and 2 deathmatches. And they were all like, wow, this is amazing. Not saying that I didn't make them, they would have discovered it themselves. But the point was, no one was expecting it to do what it did. And now all of those people buy in, year out, and every shooting game is fucking... is just basically Modern Warfare's whole class system, the class system and progression system. It's crazy.
Well, there was a time when I think... even now, I think most people buy COD games for the multiplayer. The single player, the campaign is usually although that's probably where more money is spent in terms of justifying its existence.
I think there's probably more money spent on the marketing now because you just get fucking marketing campaigns of I don't know, Danny Trejo and Boris Johnson. I don't know. It's just they're always really random, aren't they? In modern video game.
I think wasn't Lewis Hamilton in one of them?
There you go. That's what I was going for. That's funnier than what I said, and that's real. Oh no, in it. You mean in it? Yeah. So Kit Harington
Lewis Hamilton was in the game.
Kevin Spacey was in one of them as well as the villain. So Kit Harington was the villain in the Future Space one, which was not Advanced. It was
Advanced Warfighter.
No, Advanced Warfighter was near Future, and that was Kevin Spacey. I didn't play that one. Infinite Warfare I bought retroactively quite a bit later had Kit Harington in it, and I really quite liked that. Some of the weapons and the guns in the solo where you would throw grenades that would make people float and then disintegrate them and shit, and then you'd do outside breaching missions into ships and stuff. It was genuinely actually really fun. I mean,
I got off of PSN, the PS Plus, PlayStation Plus. They did World War 2, Call of Duty World War 2, and I'm playing through the campaign of that
I quite like that. That's the recent World War One, right? When they went back to
World War Two. Yeah, so basically they did like Infinite Warfare or whatever it's called, and then went, hold on, let's scale back, and they did World War One, and then they did World War Two.
No, there was no World War One. World War One was Battlefield. Battlefield did World War One.
Battlefield did World War One. Yeah, so they did World War Two instead, and it's fun. Like it's very Call of Duty. You know, that kind of. Well, it's interesting how Call of Duty is so influenced. It's not necessarily the seamless aspect of it, but Call of Duty narratively is very influenced by Half-Life, in that you have the cutscenes occurring almost uninterrupted with gameplay, apart from when there's like a cut.
Yes, you
know what I mean?
There was. That was the case. That was the case. So when we were talking about Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the one we were talking about, the one that came out in 2007, 100%, you are a silent protagonist. Soap McTaggish or whatever his name is doesn't say anything, and that's the same in Modern Warfare 2 as well, which is weird because then in Modern Warfare 2 you met the character from the first Modern Warfare as an external character, and he spoke to you. So you're like, but he was fucking silent before. Now that isn't the case. With the latest Modern Warfare, the remake, the rejig, the revamp, whatever, your main character, all the main characters, the camera comes out of them and they talk to people. That happens.
Oh, weird.
And the one you're on about, the World War one, you're not in the head most of the time. All the cutscenes of them arguing and talking, like, when you finish D-Day, they're all like, sat around talking to each other. Then when your matey boy gets shipped off to like a camp, they talk to each other. Like, it's all out of the head. It's all very cinematic to the point that you're watching a movie alongside it. So it used to be that way.
That's unfortunate, because when that is a much more immersive. It's a much more immersive kind of experience of having it actually like be so seamless. I think okay. So you have cinematics, which is fine, because like the old cinematics of like Modern Warfare 1 was that you'd have a map and it would zoom in on some little gifs of like twitching some maps and stuff, and like, oh, this guy's doing this and whatever. Now you have fully acted CG models.
But what you just mentioned about Modern Warfare 1 was because Modern Warfare 1 was actually like really, I guess, almost ahead of its time and just really clever about how it did storytelling. So it would have overall maps, you'd have communications coming through where you'd listen to two different people. Which
everything was very on theme and cohesive in terms of what they were trying to do and what they were trying to say. But I think people
put too much onus, too much weight on the idea that a silent protagonist is immersive, when in reality it's just fucking stupid. Like the idea that your character is saying nothing. Like Gordon Freeman, to an extent, has become like a meme and a joke almost within his own universe, that he is this silent, almost alien figure.
Well, it's the same thing with Legend of Zelda. Like Link's never
people
spoken.
joke about it. Exactly. So I think that can be
apart
immersive.
from in the shitty comics and the shitty cartoons,
and also the CDI games. I'm pretty sure he has a voice as well.
That's kind of like the cartoons.
Fuck off. CDI games are canon. My point is, I don't think the whole silent protagonist thing is really as good as people make it out to be. I think
it's a very delicate balance, because
I think it's an old trope that's dying off.
You aren't in the head in someone's head. So when you're like transplanted out of them when you're not playing, that's fine, because it's a similar thing with like Ghost of Tsushima.
But surely it's the other way around. Surely if you're in their head, you're playing as, I don't know, Shell from Portal. The fact that she's mute and you're playing and moving kind of gives you a bit more agency and it feels less weird. When you can see third person, Link just stand there and say "fuck all."
That's weird. That is weird.
Like,
but I guess like Breath of the Wild gets around that by not having him voiced. You still have text prompts to select what you want to say.
Yeah.
They're like 2 or 3 words, but they're there's a text prompt is kind of what
he's the strong and silent
like.
Type, yeah.
But what I kind of mean is like, I think if it's better to have a voiced protagonist, but not when you are immersed and in like a first person view. That's the point I'm making. That it works fine when you're in like a third person.
Sure, we're saying the same thing, but I thought you were saying it the other way around. You're saying that it's better, like the unvoiced protagonist is better if you're in their head. Like, we are on the same page. I misunderstood you. I thought you were saying it the other way around, where it doesn't make any fucking sense to have someone you can physically see be so fucking quiet, unless it's literally a joke.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of like a trope that I think we had for a while because of Half-Life. Don't forget, the thing is, as much as I love Half-Life, like, over Half-Life 2 Tattoo and stuff, like Half-Life's being forgotten. Like, I mean,
definitely.
My Discord, quite a bunch of youngsters, right? And like, we had a Splicer call where I mentioned it. So shout out to the people. I think Ben didn't know what it was. Philbo didn't know what it was. People didn't know what Half-Life was, and I'm just like, are you for real?
Yeah.
This was like growing up reading PC Gamer magazine before I got to play the first Half-Life. People were telling me how it was the greatest game ever made and shit. Like, it was always this. That's the thing. Like, some of these games have this prestige, but in reality, no one really knows what they're like or gives a shit.
Not anymore. But like, it's like. As we were
it's
saying,
Citizen Kane. No one has seen Citizen Kane, John. right?
It's referred to.
Yeah, people say, "Oh, it's the Citizen Kane of video games or whatever." Like we'll have the half-life of whatever the next experience.
Yeah, but
they don't
know why. They don't know why it's the Citizen Kane of video games. They don't know why it was influential.
No. But so I guess there are games that are like that, where their influence was very, very strong, like Half-Life and its storytelling, or MGS and its storytelling.
It's absolutely interesting to kind of have people who play games now but don't know where the influence is coming from. They don't know. They don't know that like.
That happens with anything though, right? Any medium that gets past the age of 10.
I suppose,
like films. Like no one knows that Citizen Kane was like one of the first movies to introduce like certain cuts and stuff that are now just taken for granted.
Yeah,
that's basically it, audience, by the way. Like, Citizen Kane is cut like a modern film where old films weren't.
So like different kind of filming techniques, different kind of blocking of the shot, composition, that kind of stuff.
So things that you'd watch Citizen Kane, but I don't get it. Like, because that was the first time it happened, sort of thing. Same with this. People don't realise the open world exploration of it. Super Mario 64 was revolutionary. People don't realise that GTA 3's 3D world exploration was like the next fucking huge jump. Those things will just look normal to someone now who has been born into it. Your average this isn't a value judgment. The average person playing Fortnite isn't going to be like, oh wow, actually yes, the fact that Mario jumped into this 3D space compared to other third-person platforms is rather phenomenal. And the addition of the C buttons to move the camera,
absolutely,
they're not going to see it. And that's
I guess it's the point of like it's how far you abstract things back, because you can like I guess it's from growing up from playing, like the Super Mario 64s and the Super Mario Worlds, and I'm not quite old enough to play the Nintendo, but like I have the progression of the steps in my mind, so I know where things progressed. I guess it depends how far you abstract back from current times. You aren't going to see that
exactly. It's funny as well, because we're getting to a point now. If we do this again and we talk about like movies and shit, we're getting to a point where like Star Wars is so fucking old now that like if and when I have kids, they may just see Star Wars as so old that it's just unwatchable to them, because it's like through almost a buzz of time. In the same way that until maybe my older years now, but as a kid I would never have dreamt of watching like a Flash Gordon serialized black and white thing. I might watch it now out of curiosity. Do you see what I mean? So there's almost like a barrier that people can't get through.
Absolutely.
Until their
you
curiosity
get used to
an adult.
a certain condition. Like I think I was discussing this with Liam on your Discord that someone at work. Sorry, with VHSs.
Fuck you, Liam.
There's a guy that I work with was talking about getting Land Before Time on for like young kind of family members. To try and to show them like the cartoons and films they grew up with. It's like, I could get it on the VHS. I'm like, why? It's just like a work. Like, it's nostalgic for you.
It's strictly worse.
It's just it's a massive pain in the arse. This is someone who collects vinyl. It's a pain in the arse.
But vinyl's. We will end this episode very shortly.
Yeah.
Vinyl's got its upside though, right? Like, the quality of sound on a vinyl is better than the majority, where VHS has no actual benefits. In terms of
lower
size,
resolution,
it
wears
sound
out,
quality,
it gets
everything.
worse.
It's just worse.
Yeah, but if you have a pan and scan version of it, then you've got bits cut out of the scenes.
Yeah,
like, it's
the fucking aspect ratios are all fucked depending on what region you're watching and stuff. Like, but I think there are some games that, and films to a lesser extent, but games that stand up the test of time because they were done in a way at the time that now looks good now. So we're going full circle. Oh, this is good content creation. Like, we talked about Yoshi's Story and like Symphony of the Night, right? Those games have aged well on their respective consoles because they're in styles. The sprite, the 16-bit thing, the cell shaded kind of thing from Yoshi's Story.
Because it defies the platform on which they were on.
Yeah, they're almost timeless, or at least they harken back to a retro nostalgia that either we want or people are into because 80s retro rave is cool or whatever, that shit, So again, like Jim Sterling, I think infamously, I remember him saying it. He said that Viva Pinata is the best looking Xbox 360 game because in years to come, and he is completely correct on this, that it will look good. So you put Viva Pinata in 4K, and I played it recently, like 1080p on like consoles and 1440p and stuff on PC. It looks phenomenal still because it's not of a time. It doesn't have the low, even though those textures can be hidden by an art style that is good. That's why Nintendo games tend to age well as well, because the art direction is.
I was about to say, just to kind of to be the contrarian that I love to be, is that Majora's Mask, a beloved Legend of Zelda game,
looks like shit,
is ugly.
So is Ocarina of Time.
I mean, Ocarina. No, I think it's weird. Ocarina of Time doesn't look as bad as Majora's Mask
because Majora's Mask is darker.
I think it's because it was rushed. They were trying to make it distinct, and it loses the kind of visual cohesion that Ocarina of Time had, because it had a less rushed development, I believe.
Well,
so like you have Majora's Mask was built on the same engine as Ocarina of Time.
Sure.
They had to share
but in theory those things should help. They should lessen the development stress because you're not building an engine. Like you're saying rushed, but do you know if it was rushed? Do you know if there's it
was released like a year later.
It wasn't a year later. No way.
18 months later. It was like, honestly, it's like 98 to 99.
So Ocarina of Time, 98, Majora's Mask.
99, 2000, something like that?
2000, so 2 years later.
18, it's like 18 months to 2 years.
Well, yeah, just under 2 years, yeah. Okay. I guess so. So it definitely had a shorter lifetime because like Ocarina of Time was developed on the SNES and stuff. Wasn't
I'm not saying that Majora's Mask is a bad game, but it is an ugly game.
Yeah, I think Ocarina of Time. There's a lot of 3D console games. Like Mario 64 looks awful. The Banjo-Kazooies, they got good art.
Mario 64 has no through line in terms of theming. It's very strange. If you look at like the last Bowser stage, they just have random textures. Like you're like a bubbled smoke green background. There's like checkerboard patterns. There's a cobble pattern.
I kind of like it because it feels so. When you get to Super Mario Sunshine, you have the missions where the mask is taken. Not the mask, sorry. The pack is taken off of you, and you go into those worlds where you've got to use just Mario's separate abilities. People complained. I remember the reviews at the time panned those parts, but I loved them. They feel like Mario 64 because it's just like abstract shapes and colours as opposed to being any cohesive environment. It's really funny. And it's also just interesting to see that as like a world design building exercise. Like, I'm going to jump into a painting and the early paintings will have like a theme. And then towards the end, you're just like, this is a field of lava with like spikes in it. You're like, cool.
You just have lava in here. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. It's bad. Right. I think we'll call it there because this episode, after maybe a bit of editing, is probably going to be over an hour and a half long, which is fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
So, let's do some outro stuff. So, John, where can people find you? You
can find me on Twitter at BaptistBrews, and you can find me on twitch.tv/jmckelroy_. Sweet. I need to get a better Twitch name.
Yeah, just Baptist Brews, buddy.
I need to get some theming. I need to get like a proper kind of brand.
Consistent branding is key. If Benjamin Wheeler is watching this, your branding is shit and you should fix it. Only because this is a very name. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this, then let us know in the comment section below. This is an experiment because we've been talking about random shit, but we've talked about how we should probably talk about random shit whilst being recorded, for example.
Yeah.
We will do more of these if they are liked. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, if you like them.
I'm not gonna set like a set goal of like views or likes, but if you share it with people you think will enjoy it, or just if you've got things to say over the questions that I've asked you, because that's engagement, or if we're saying things that you don't agree with or agree with about first-person narration in video games, or whether Mario 64 is truly aged, and also tell us if the format we're doing is right. So, for example, if you are younger and you're like, do you know what? You saying random shit about these old games I didn't know about is great, then that can be the way we go with it. However, like I said in this episode, I didn't want us to like say how great Call of Duty 4 and Halo 3 were, because like so much has been written about that already. But if it's helpful for people who weren't there at the time or can't remember those times, maybe that's good. Hit the like button. Oh, go on.
If there's something that you want us to focus on more or embellish in future attempts at this,
or pick a fucking year. If you want a year for us to talk about, we'll probably have a tangent where we don't talk about it for half an hour, but we'll try.
we'll talk about the year for about 20 minutes and then like surrounding years for the rest of it.
We fucked up. I had celebrity weddings for that year up on another screen, but we didn't get to it. Anyway, hit that like button, smash the subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching this far, and we'll see you next time in the PleasantKenobi Variety Hour.
Bye.